morning, good evening, good afternoon, folks. It's the one and only V, the Gorilla Economist, coming to you live on this edition of the Raging Ape in the Morning. And folks, I want to thank you all for listening in. Look, it's been a while since I've been back here in YT. And you know what? I figured to myself, hey, you know what? Might as well get back into the swing of things. It's been a very busy summer schedule. A lot of people out, a lot of people vacationing, a lot of people traveling. It's been hectic for me work-wise. I mean, let's be honest here. It's just, people always ask, hey, what kind of work do you do? What kind of business are you in? I'm like, I'm in the chaos business. And unfortunately, with the chaos business, when there's a lot of chaos, you're extremely busy. And that's what it's been like over at the business side of things. And folks, if you're listening to us for the first time, again, check us out, RogueNews.com. Follow us on Twitter at RogueNewsEvents. And also, check out our paid sponsors. The links are all in the description box. AlgoFactory.tech, AlgoFactory.tech, one of the last few exploits you have. The last shoe to drop is the market, and the wealth is made in the market. And I'll tell you right now, folks, whether you are a newbie, whether you know about trading or you don't, check out AlgoFactory.tech because it is one of the last exploits you have as an American. And also check out if you're interested in purchasing precious metals and or digital assets legally and above board. Go check out royalamparo.com, royalamparo.com. The links are all in the description box. And with that being said, guys, let's get into it. Listen, I don't want to belabor the fact that there's a lot of things that have occurred the last time I've been on. And folks, if you haven't followed us on Rumble, I recommend you go on Rumble. Rumble's app is fantastic. You can do background play, everything that YouTube can do without the censorship. Go check out our Rumble channel. We're there broadcasting all the time. Velas had some great shows this past week, so make sure you guys go back and check that out. And a few of the shows that we did as well with John Singleton have been absolutely stellar, so make sure you go to Rumble or even our Twitch channel and go check that out. With that being said, lots of things have occurred, lots of things are continuing to happen. One of the things I've always talked about for many years is the multipolar world. It's the fact that the United States is an empire in decline. A lot of things that we've discussed, we've talked about, we've brought to the forefront are things that you're witnessing right now, things that are unraveling, that are happening as we speak. And the global world order has shifted. It has shifted drastically from the unipolar world order, which is dominated by the insane, morally bankrupt, deindustrialized, insolvent West, and the rising powers of the Eastern world, the rising powers of the multipolar world that are filling in the vacuum of what has been happening and filling in the vacuum for humanity itself so that the human species could progress. And that is something that the morons that run the West with their artificial scarcity and all these false flags and their demonology and their pedophilia have tried so effortlessly to stop, but they failed miserably. So there's a good thing to that. We all knew about Trump's assassination attempt, and we're going to belabor the fact we all know about that. But look, the most important thing, the most important event that has transpired, that has taken place, folks, is not the assassination of Donald Trump. That's not the most important event that took place this year. For most Americans who are not following the economic news, for most Americans who are not following the global news, they would think that, hey, you know what, the attempted assassination of Donald Trump is the most important event. And for the left, it's like, oh, the resignation of Joe Biden and the pronouncement of Kamala Harris as the heir apparent, as the replacement for Biden. That's not even the biggest news. The real biggest news is something that occurred weeks and weeks ago. Okay, it occurred when the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia said, you know what, we're done with the petrodollar. On July the 8th, they decided not to re-sign. They decided not to sign or prolong the petrodollar agreement. And some people talked about it. Some people, played lip service to it. But this is something that I wanted to discuss for quite some time, and just been with my schedule and everything else that's been happening, and didn't have a chance to really delve into it. And I'm gonna kind of delve into that today, like nobody else can. It's the whole entire petrodollar scheme is something I'm very familiar with, and once you understand the height, the depth, and the full the full enchilada here, then you'll know why this was a very pivotal event. When the Saudis said, "Hey, you know what? We're going to allow the sale of our petroleum products in whatever currency we want." That is the equivalent of the fat lady singing, folks. For years, since day one, when I came on the scene in alt media, right? When I came on the scene, and I said, "Hey, you know what? Here's the deal: the American dream is built on the Saudi pipelines." I wasn't kidding. The American dream is built on the Saudi pipelines. Saudi Arabian pipelines is what fuels the American economy. Now, how does that work? Most people don't understand. This is why most Americans don't understand. Most people in general don't understand the economies of scale. They don't understand of what it means to have a world reserve currency. They don't understand what it means to have a petrodollar. Well, I'm going to tell you what it means. The agreement that Kissinger came up with in 1971 with the petrodollar and OPEC is this: you will price and sell your product, your petroleum product, in dollars, automatically making the United States the de facto toll man for any sort of transaction that involves petroleum. And when the United States becomes the toll man, it profits greatly. That's number one. Number two, the other angle of it is that once you buy the petroleum, the United States is also going to be the importer of last resort. And what that simply means is that not only are you going to utilize the dollar to buy petroleum, but the excess dollar that you buy, whatever you have left over, take the profits and rather keeping it in your country. Hey, why would you keep it in your country? Because money parked is money dead, my friend. Nobody really, wealthy people and wealthy in countries itself, they just don't park money. Parking money it's dead. So what they've done is they were convinced to utilize the United States as importer of last resort. And that means taking the money, the profits that we made off our petroleum deal, off our petroleum trade, and then putting it back into the U.S. markets to be traded as investments. And that is, my friends, what has really, really been the number one driver of American prosperity for the last 60 some odd years. Okay? That is the driver. That and the fact that we went off the gold standard. Right? This was the counter. We had to go off the gold standard, so we decided to become an energy-backed commodity. And to really back it, we had what? The third thing in this component is this. It is the power of the United States Navy that ensures the free flow of trade and goods throughout the world's oceans is what really gave teeth to the petrodollar. So number one, the first leg of this whole entire thing is number one, you have the petrodollar. All petroleum trade will be settled and denominated in dollars. Number two, you had importer of last resort. The profits that you've gleaned and gained from the petroleum trade, you will reinvest in the United States markets, ensuring that your countries will prosper and ensuring that the United States will prosper. And in third, if you do those other two things, third, the United States Navy, at that time, the most powerful Navy in the world, will ensure the free flow of goods and petroleum throughout the entire world. They will keep the sea lanes open. That's how it worked. And everybody was copacetic with that. Everybody was fine with that. Up until recently. What was the driving impetus for the Saudis to get the hell out of the dollar? Number one, the Saudis aren't stupid. They knew when MBS took power, he knew that he was not very popular with the U.S. He's not very popular with the West to begin with, because, like I said, if you've been following Rogue for quite some time, back in 2014 and 15, one of the things I said is Al Maktoum, not Maktoum, I'm sorry, Merkin, Crown Prince Merkin. Maktoum is the UAE royal family, but Merkin was he was the chosen one. He was the chosen one. trained in England, trained in Oxford. He's an Anglophile, pro-Western, the whole 9 yards. He was supposed to be the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, and that didn't work out. MBS took power. And when he took power, what did he do? He purged the royals. Any of the princes that were not on board with his plans, he got rid of, rightfully so. Because most of these guys were Western stooges. They're not in for the benefit of Saudi Arabia. Say what you want about MBS. I believe MBS loves his country. He wants to see his people prosper. He wants to see his people and his country advance. Now, I'm not going to wait, spend time talking about the Al Noor project. All these, I've highlighted so many of this stuff about Saudi Arabia that nobody else has even talked about. I'm not going to get into that. So MBS has, realized that he needs to get off the dollar, especially with the weaponization of the dollar, the weaponization of the Fed wire, and the weaponization that has happened against Russia, where they try to sanction the hell out of them, try to cut them out of market, try to steal their reserves, so on and so forth. And again, folks, it's not forgotten on MBS who was behind the attempted coup against him and the factions that were at play with that. So that's number one. The other thing that led to the end of the dollar, or the end of the petrodollar, folks, is this: is when the Houthis in Yemen began to decimate or put a paid target on any ship carrying any goods that are Israeli or Western backed, they were being attacked left and right. And the United States Navy and the Royal Navy both, try to flex their muscles and try to do something. They couldn't do anything about it because they don't want to see. You see what I'm saying? The whole mythology of the United States military, and it is a mythology. It's something that's created by Hollywood. It's not real. Folks, you got to understand this, right? One of the things I've said is like, look, if your news is fake, right? We all agree that there's fake news. The news is fake. Guess what also is fake? Your history is fake. And if your history is fake, your perception as to who you are as a country and your standing in the world is also fake. Just like your economy is fake. Think about that. Think about that. Everything that we stand for today is not real. It's fake. It's an artificial construct. And there's a reason why the United States Navy cannot and did not go after the Houthis. They're like, oh, if we want to, we could take out the Houthis. And no, you can't. And you tried. You tried via proxy with military contractors, the Saudis, and with Saudi Arabia, with UAE, with several countries who went to war on the ground in Yemen. And they failed miserably. They could not take the Houthis out because they are very tough, battle-hardened mercenaries. I'm not mercenaries, military. And that's the whole entire thing. And when they realized that the United States Navy, along with the Royal Navy, could not take out the Houthis, they didn't stick around to find out. Right? You might ask yourself, who fought against the Houthis? Right? Well, who fought against the Houthis? Well, several people fought against the Houthis. The Saudis. Okay, let me give you the list of countries of who went up against the Houthis. And this is a very key thing on the decimation of the dollar. You have the U.S. at that time, the U.S. proxy Saudi Arabia, which was given the blessing, just like Saddam Hussein was given the blessing to go up against Iran in the decade-long Iran-Iraq war that the U.S. funded. The U.S. funded and supplied weapon systems to the Saudis, and those weapon systems in real combat have failed miserably. So you had Saudi Arabia, you had the UAE, you had Sudan, you had Bahrain, you had Kuwait, you had Qatar, you had Egypt, you had Jordan, you had Morocco, you had Senegal, You have the United States Special Forces. That's right, the U.S. Army Special Forces. The United States Baby SEALs. The UK, along with SAS and their SBS, Special Boat Service, and all that. You had France, you had Canada, right? You had all these people, right? You had all these people go up against Houthis. And on top of that, they were funded. You know, this coalition, this army, this ragtag coalition of the shilling. They were funded along by the United States, the UK, and France, and they couldn't take the Houthis out. You know, you got to understand. This is why Salman Khan, MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, stepped back from the Yemeni war, which is a disaster, and said, "You know what? Let's just negotiate for peace, and let's also negotiate for peace with Iran," because they realized when push comes to shove, the U.S. really sucks at war. They're good at knocking off third world countries, but they're not really good when it comes down to facing a formidable adversary. And the Houthis were also, supported by Iran. That's a known thing. But I'm going to tell you something else. I'm going to tell you another country who also supported the Houthis that most people don't know about: China. And I'm the one that told you guys like many, many years ago that the Chinese have been involved in Yemen since 1954. It's a major trade partner of China. It has been for several decades. They have a very good relationship. And the Chinese are not going to sit around and allow the West to just run ramshackle over this. So what the Chinese did through various prosecutors, and I can't prove it, but if I was a betting man, I would bet with it, and I'd bet for it. And I bet my bottom dollar that what happened is that the Chinese went ahead and they started to logistically supply Yemen via Iran. Because China's not stupid. China's like, wait a minute, the Houthis, if they're given the proper material, if they're given the proper logistics and finances, they can withstand against the entire West. And this was something that was not lost on Mohammed bin Salman. Mohammed bin Salman, he took a step back and he said, you know what? We got our butts kicked. We got our butts kicked by a ragtag military group who were supplied logistically from Iran with a little help from China and possibly even some Russian help. There was some Russian help, especially the armament department. There's a reason why American M1A1 Abrams and M1A2 Abrams were burning in the Yemeni desert, burning like Roman candles, because they were hit by Russian Kornet anti-tank missiles. But America, the greatest tank in the world. There's a reason why Navy SEALs who landed in Yemen were absolutely smoked. The U.S. had this mythology that they owned the night. So the baby SEALs, they landed in Yemen in the middle of the night, and they didn't realize these idiots who were, who grew up now because of the self-aggrandizing that they've been doing because of Hollywood. Oh, the baby SEALs. Oh, the most elite fighting force. Blah, 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 blah. If you take a testosterone test among the special operations community in the United States, you would find out that every single one of them, the majority of operators in the United States that are special operations forces, they all have low testosterone levels. That is a known fact, my friend. That is something that is talked about within the operator community. And I know this because I have certain people who are in the special operations community. Few of them are Navy SEALs that are clients of mine. And this is why a lot of them suffer PTSD at an alarming rate. Low testosterone levels. When your testosterone levels are low, your PTSD rates are high. It goes hand in hand, folks. It goes hand in hand. All right? So when the baby SEALs landed in Yemen in the middle of the night, they thought they owned the night. And what happened? Well, you had Yemeni Houthis who were supplied by Iranian/Chinese night vision glasses or goggles were able to pick them off one by one. So Mohammed bin Salman takes a look at all these things that I just described and said to themselves, you know what? It's better that we no longer play the game that the British and the Americans want us to play. It's better that we don't play the game that the Brits and the American deep state don't want us to play. It's better that we work with the Iranians. It's better we have peace with the Houthis. Because they realize that the United States can't really protect them. That if this war becomes more unpopular, that the misery brought upon the Saudi citizenry will lead to a revolt that the kingdom cannot simply afford. And not just the Saudis woke up, the UAE woke up. And this is why the UAE shows up at the Davos World Economic Forum conferences, and they just play lip service, and they say, yeah, sure. And then they're cutting deals with the Chinese and the Russians. See, the West is nothing but a group of LARPers. People that go to Davos and go to Washington, D.C., they love to sit around and talk and have hearings and committees and LARP all day about the things they're going to do. And the rest of the world understands this. It's a waste of time to deal with the West. It's better that they just go to China and Russia and actually get business done, actually get things accomplished and built, and sign treaties and partnerships that they don't have to worry about it being broken when a new administration comes in. The United States has a broken government. The United States has a broken and schizophrenic foreign policy. And the world has woken up to the fact. And the fat lady sang, folks, on July the 8th, 2024, when the Saudis reneged on signing the petrodollar agreement. And some would say, you know what, V, they're still pricing oil in dollars. Yeah, you're right. They're still using the West Texas Intermediate, the WTI, in order to price the barrels of oil. But that is a temporary stopgap, my friend. Just like many assets across the world are still priced in dollars because it is some sort of an objective marker. But the alternative is coming. Now, people will say, well, what's the alternative going to be? Is it going to be the yuan? Is it going to be Bitcoin? We had Trump over at the Bitcoin conference talking about, hey, you know what? We're going to make Bitcoin a strategic reserve of the United States. That's fine. Folks, the gorilla already told you years ago that the only thing that the United States has left is its second-rate energy sources, which is the LNG supplies that we have here, which are very expensive to export, which is also the petroleum source that we have here, which is a very unrefined source of oil. We don't have a lot of that, you know. But we're a good energy provider. So the only thing we have left in this country in terms of backup of future currency with after the debasement and the bankruptcy process that this country is about to go through, the only thing that we have left is energy and crypto. And I say crypto because I've been saying it for over a decade at this point. Me and Charles Hugh Smith were the two of the guys that said, hey, look, when this thing falls apart, you can expect the dollar to go high, you can expect Bitcoin to go high, and all of that before the collapse. Rob is absolutely right. We don't have a refinery capacity. We haven't built a new refinery in this country since 1973. 1973. And it's very cost prohibitive also to build a new one. And it takes long. It's a big problem. It's a very big problem. So the question becomes, what's going to happen to the pricing of oil, gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and all other strategic and rare earth metals and minerals if the dollar is being done away with? If the Saudi announcement they're no longer going to peg their energy or their petroleum products to the dollar, what is going to be the future? What are they going to replace it with? Is it going to be the yuan? Is it going to be the ruble? Is Saudis going to use their own currency? What are they going to do? It's going to be Bitcoin. No. The answer has been sitting in front of our faces for the last 6,000 years. It's gold. Folks, you got to understand, in the make-believe pretend world of the West, crypto could be the hot new girl in the room. Crypto could be the it thing. But in the business forward East, there is only one commodity in the world that is literally in the hearts and minds of the people and genetically hardwired into them because they've had the experience of dealing with this metal for the longest amount of time, and that is gold. We will see a revaluation of gold. And I'm not talking about when that happens, folks. I'm not saying gold's going to be $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 an ounce, which it will get to. I'm talking about gold being $20, $30, $40, $50, $100,000 in value. Could be per ounce, could be more. Man, $20, $30, $40,000 an ounce. It's got to be based on something along those lines. And then having that, and then creating some sort of a blockchain type system for global trade settlement, utilizing an agreed upon crypto. Or each country has its own digital coin, its own digital asset that can be used for gold trade settlement and gold trade credit. That's the new system moving forward in the East. That's what they're working on in the BRICS. And when that rolls out, you're going to see the last umbilical cord, the last strings tied to the dollar being finished. Because right now it's just pricing in the dollar. Nobody cares about the United States and its sanctions anymore. Nobody gives a rat's ass. I mean, Venezuela just reelected Nicholas and Sweetness, the bus driver Maduro. To the angst of Washington, D.C., to the angst of the American deep state. And I'm no fan of Maduro. I'm no fan of that. But you got to understand, Maduro is a symptom. Maduro is a symptom of American foreign policy. And Maduro understands, and the Venezuelan governments understand that, hey, you know what? They read the tea leaves. They know what is going to occur is we're there in the midst of a massive transnational shift. And they're plugging their future economic prosperity into what is happening with the multipolar world. They know where their bread is buttered, folks. Sergei Lavrov, my favorite statesman, Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, said it best. The United States is agreement non-capable. It's agreement non-capable. And granted, I firmly believe, and I think that, I hope and pray that Trump gets in as president. It'll be a net benefit to the global economy. It'll be a net benefit to our relationships with China and with Russia and with Iran. It'll be a net benefit. Overall, it won't be perfect. Nothing is. But it'll be a net benefit. But the question becomes, what happens when his term is over? You see, folks, this is the problem that we deal with in this country. So often we remove the spider webs without killing the spider. So if we don't deal with the problem that is in Washington, D.C., the webs keep coming back. Gus Demas always says there's a good 1,000 people that are in D.C. that are in some serious positions of power that all need to be in handcuffs and thrown in prison or summarily executed. I agree with that statement. There are a good 1,000 people in Washington, D.C. that need to be in handcuffs. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. None. The U.S. is a failed state. It's not a serious country. And we really need to reevaluate how things really work here. Because there's so many things that we're doing wrong, so many things that we don't understand, because we're not a vigilant citizenry. This is what Benjamin Franklin said. It's a republic if you can keep it. If you can keep it, and it's for a vigilant and morally upright citizenry. Are we vigilant? How do you become vigilant? You become vigilant through education. You become vigilant by learning. You become vigilant by understanding your history and holding it close to you. That's what vigilance is. Jim Dillinger, Trump handed the football to Vlad. Agree with you 1,000%. We cannot be anything without having that. Without vigilance, without education, without knowing our history, without knowing and cementing the culture, folks, there's no moving forward. And we're always going to be stuck in a loop of having a problem that always comes back. And we don't need that as a people. We don't need that as a people. So the entire world right now is watching the political theater as it unfolds here in the United States. What's it going to look like? What's it going to be? Who's going to win come November? And I'm telling you right now, come mid-August, you're going to see some asset prices flying. You're going to see Bitcoin flying. You're going to see gold start to move. You're going to see a lot of things start to happen in a very profound way. And that is going to be a signaling of the coming transitions that are ahead, not only in 2024, but as we steamroll into 2025. Big changes, huge changes. And it's at this point that we need to really pay attention. So many angles. A lot of people are not happy with Trump's VP pick, Vance. I'd say, yeah, I'm not happy with the guy either. Like everything else, we'd have to wait and see. Some people are calling Vance's and his connection to Peter Thiel some sort of deep state thing. Well, here's the funny thing, right? Everything is gray, folks. Everything is gray. And there's multiple sides and multiple angles and multiple layers. Peter Thiel is one of the most feared men in Silicon Valley. The Davos side of Silicon Valley hates Peter Thiel. Hates him. Is Peter Thiel my kind of cup of tea? Absolutely not. Don't really care for him. Don't trust him at all. But the fact that the enemy of my enemies, at this point, I don't mind a little bit of Peter Thiel. I think Vance is like most Americans, that very ignorant of the world. They still think that that China is living in some sort of Maoist backwater dystopia. They have no idea. They have no idea. They don't understand Russia. They don't understand the rest of the world. And again, this is a fault. And see, this is the problem. We don't have statesmen anymore. We have ideologues. We don't have statesmen. We have ideologues. Sean, where every day we've been. Let me look. We've been on a summer schedule, Sean. And if you want to catch us daily, I recommend going on Rumble. We're there every day, especially when we have our certain guests who can't say certain things on YouTube. So that's why I always say, you know what? Follow us on Rumble. Follow us on Rumble, folks. Right? PayPal Mafia. Master Q's. Q and the White Hats know the United States needs to become Sodom and Gomorrah. Otherwise, the people don't understand. Oh my God. Correct. Our politicians are Maoists. He's a child. He doesn't understand anything. He doesn't understand anything. And probably Bernie. Bernie's a coward. That's the only thing. Should have picked Tulsi Gabbard. That's who you should have picked. That's my take on it. This way, you break the entire left-right paradigm. You'll crush it. There's a lot of people on the right that love Tulsi. A lot of people. So this is where we are, folks. This is where we are. And it's going to be interesting to see where things transpire. And this is what I wanted to say. This is my first time back in a long time, right here on YouTube. And I'm going to wrap this up. As the Olympics is going on, and all these other things. And again, it's summertime, and pretty much the markets are selling May and go away. There's not much happening. Mid to late August, that's when the real action starts in just a few weeks. That's why I'm getting ahead of this, and I will be back to discuss this more here on YouTube. So keep it locked and loaded right here. Tomorrow's show, we're going to get Matthew Arid on, hopefully, probably 2 p.m. We'll see what goes on. I'll try to be on the show tomorrow at 11 a.m. as well. So we'll see what transpires. So keep it locked on the load right here, folks. RogueNews.com. Check us out. Twitter at RogueNewsEvent. And we're everywhere you want us to be, plus a bag of chips. Twitch.com, we're there as well. We're broadcasting live on X. So follow us everywhere over there. With that being said, we're at the end of the show. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm glad to see you all. I'm glad to see you here as well, my good friend. Yeah. Yeah, Gulag, I agree with you. Real MAGA would have put Thomas Massey's a badass. That's the guy I would have picked. He is the modern day incarnation of a Ron Paul. He's awesome. I like Thomas Massey a lot. And with that being said, folks, we're over and out. I will see you all mañana. With that being said, cheers, everyone. Enjoy your day. Gorilla out.